So we'll be taking a class on the Patriots. We'll start from Abraham. After that, we'll go to Isaac, Jacob, and even up to the story of Joseph. And that will be the end of this Genesis. So we'll try to cover up this morning Genesis 11 to Genesis chapter 50. So you may be already familiar with the story of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. So I'll be quick with the lessons. Now let's see this map. This is the journey of the Patriots. This is the Ararat, Mount Ararat. From Mount Ararat, they came down to this Babylon, or to this Mesopotamia. And here, in this place, Abraham was there. Terah left Ur with Abraham, Lot and Sarai. And they came to Haran and dwelt there. Okay, they came to Haran and dwelt there. Terah died in Haran at the age of 205. So this is how the journey began. From here, Abraham started out. Abraham had been called out by God, and they come to Haran. They came to Haran, from Ur to Haran. So this is the call. Let's read together this one, the calling of Abraham. Get out of your country, from your family, and from your father's house, to the land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse him who curses you. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. So this is the calling of Abraham. Get out of your country. I'll make you a great nation. This is a record in Acts chapter 7. Brethren and father, listen, the God of glory appeared to our father Abraham when he was in Mesopotamia. So that calling was there when he was still in Mesopotamia, in Iraq, before he dwelt in Haran. So God had promised Abraham a land, and nations, and a seed. God promised a Savior. He would come through Abraham. So here, from Haran to Canaan, from Ur to Haran, first of all. After that, from Haran to Canaan. Abraham obeyed God. He took Sarai and Lot and left Haran. Abraham was 75 when he left Haran. Remember that? Abraham was 75 years old when he left Haran. He entered Canaan and came to Shechem. And at that time, God appeared to him again. So this is the journey. Abraham started from Ur to Haran, and from Haran came to Canaan and stayed there in Shechem. And there, God met him again. There, Shechem is not far from Egypt. This Shechem is in the territory of this Egyptian kingdom is until this place. So, here, while in Shechem, what happened? One incident took place. Sarai was very beautiful. So, the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, had took Sarai to be his wife. The reason is that even Abraham had told a lie that Sarai was his sister. Okay. If Abraham had told that Sarai was his wife, Abraham would be killed. For fear of that, Abraham said that Sarai was his sister. Actually, Sarai was his half-sister. Their father is the same, but their mother is not the same. It is his half-sister. So Abraham had said that Sarai was his sister. For that reason, Pharaoh took Sarai to be his wife. But on that night, God sent plague, sickness to Pharaoh's family. And after that, Pharaoh confronted Abraham And Abraham had told the truth. And after that, Pharaoh had given back Sarai to Abraham. And for that reason, Pharaoh cast Abraham out of Egypt. Pharaoh had sent out Abraham out of Shechem. And after that, Abraham came to Canaan. Came to Canaan again. So here's a note. Abraham and Sarai told Pharaoh half-truth. She was his half-sister. But they did not tell the Egyptian that she was also his wife. So, they came back to Canaan. From Egypt to Canaan. So by this point in the story, Abraham journeyed. He had traveled approximately 1,500 miles. That is by foot, okay? From here to Haran, from Haran to Shechem to Egypt, and coming back to Canaan. It is 1,500 miles. It's not a kilometer, okay? It will be more than 2,000 kilometers. Abraham had already traveled by foot this far. From Egypt to Canaan. From Ur to Canaan, so to say. And here, Abraham and Lot separate. And the very reason is that Abraham and Lot were very rich in cattle. They had a lot of cattle. So their hearts were too large to stay together. And their servants are quarreling each other in order to get the grazing field. So Abraham did not like that there will be a quarrel among both the families. So they decided to separate. And Abraham gave Lot first choice of the land. Abraham said that if you go to the left, I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I'll go to the left. You choose whichever place you like to stay. So Lot chose the plain of Jordan. The plain of Jordan. And Abraham stayed in the hill country of Canaan. So it is good to remember this one. Lot chose the plain of Sodom, of Jordan Valley. Abraham stayed in the hills. So this is the place. So when they both separate, Abraham, since Lot chose this plain area, Abraham had to stay in the hills. So this portion, the plain of Jordan, or the valley of Siddim, where Lot dwelt, is near Sodom and Gomorrah. And Abraham still stayed in the hills. And at that time, Lot was taken captive. After Lot moved towards Sodom, a disturbance arose. 4 Mesopotamian kings came to this Canaan, and they held and they caught and they arrested 5 kings of the plain, and the land was under their control for 12 years. In the 13th year, the 5 kings of the plains revolted. And what happened? The 4 kings of this Mesopotamia came and conquered this land. And they took over the land of the 5 kings of the plain. 5 kings of the plain. At the time, what happened? Lot was taken captive. Since Lot was in the plain area of Jordan, the king of Elam led the Mesopotamian force and attacked the 5 kings of the plain. But the men of Sodom and Gomorrah lost the battle. They fled and fell. At the time, Lot was taken captive by the enemy. And the news of Lot's captivity was told by a man who escaped to Mamre and told Abraham. At the time, what happened? Abraham, with his forces, tried to rescue Lot. Abraham and his allies pursued the enemy from the oaks of Mamre to Dan. He divided his men, attacked at night, and chased the enemy to Hobah. Abraham rescued Lot. So Abraham had well-trained soldiers of his own, maybe more than 300. And this is the map. See how much kilometer? It will be hundreds of kilometers. So those Mesopotamian kings took captive of Lot, and when they reached here, Abraham and his well-trained men had pursued after them, and they attacked the Mesopotamian king there. And after the attack, Abraham took back Lot and his families and his men from here. So that means Abraham was very brave and also a well-trained soldier. He had more than 300 well-trained soldiers. Abraham and Lot returned home with all the people and goods. The king of Sodom went out to meet Abraham in the valley of Saveh. The king of Sodom was very happy with Abraham. And also one priest called by the name Melchizedek, king of Salem, also blessed Abraham after returning victory. So there Abraham and Lot returned. This is the place where they returned, in the map of the return. And Abraham gave Melchizedek a tenth of all. So makat. This indicated that Abraham recognized Melchizedek as the priest of God. Abraham was so happy for his victory, for God granted him victory, so for that he gave all the 10th part of all his belongings to the priest of the king of Salem, that is Melchizedek. The value of Saveh. The king of Sodom only asked for the people and offered Abraham all the goods. The king of Sodom, said to Abraham, just return back only the people and get all the loot, or how to say, all the things you took from the other kings. But Abraham only accepted the expenses of his men and the portion that belonged to his allies. So here, please read together this one. What did Abraham tell the king of Sodom?
I have raised my hand to the Lord, God Most High, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will take nothing for the Patriots, and that I will not take anything that is yours. Because you say, I have made Abraham rich.
Agalating tingka Abraham kaya nga Sodom kumpipan tiyak so ngay so ihangin na aman ka hidap kautan pale kalating din hutsilong inzo tilapiak jeka Abraham house ay chikadiu checho Abraham kapatien volzo la house ama kaya inka sepai tampi sepai jatumbal well trained commando ichi dan dio mo hoidana ka aman ka lot hoi kumpi li te Mesopotamia kumpi te vadowek mo kay Abraham kaya na kutsin na pat na volzo na piak jekin na kipata so makat ka Melchizedek kaya na piak bana so lang kumpi pate na bang makipa man lo hidan ya ka akilang ay amang kapatyan tupi na apiak sa apiak udzyak God's covenant with Abraham. So here God made a covenant agreement with Abraham. God appeared to Abraham in a vision, and Abraham questioned God about his hair. Hair means his offspring, a child. There in chapter 12, we have God had promised a land. After that, God promised a nation. After that, God promised a seed. A seed means offspring, But here, God had told the same promise again to Abraham. At the time, Abraham told God that, how can you promise me a seed? I have no child. And his servant Eliezer was his only heir. Means, since Abraham had no child, he had a very faithful servant, Eliezer. If Abraham died without having a child, all his possessions will be transferred to Eliezer. So, here God answered Abraham by saying that, look now towards heaven and count the stars, if you're able to number them. And he said to them, so shall your descendants be. And he believed in the Lord, and he counted it to him for righteousness. When Abraham questioned God, how can I have offspring? How can I have descendants with no child? But God said, look towards the heaven. Can you count the star? If you are able to number them, so shall your descendants be. At the time, Abraham believed God that his descendants will be numbered as much as the stars in heaven. So God made a covenant with Abraham. At the time, Abraham offered a sacrifice, brought a heifer, means a calf, a young cow, a goat, a ram. A ram means a sheep, okay? A turtle dove and a pigeon. He split the animals and placed its piece opposite to each other. And God appeared there. In the smoke, in the burning torch, God appeared there. And that is the proof that God had made a covenant with Abraham. God showed Abraham the future at the time. And here God foretold to Abraham. Okay, this is a very important fact again. His descendants would be slaves in a foreign land for 400 years. Genesis chapter 50, verse 13. That Abraham's descendants would be slaves in a foreign land for 400 years. So long before the story of Joseph. Okay. God had already foretold to Abraham that his descendants would be in Egypt for 400 years. Their oppression would be judged. Oppressor would be judged. His descendants would come out with great possession. And Abraham would die in peace and all less. So this is God's promise to Abraham. So chapter 15, verse 13 to 15 is very important. This is a prophecy to Abraham. And God's covenant with Abraham says that God defined the boundaries of the land of the promise. Okay. God told Abraham that He will give him a land, a nations. And the boundary would be from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates. God also promised Abraham that He will give a land to his descendants. And the size of that would be from the river of Egypt to the river Euphrates. Let us see that in the map. So, see this one. The river Euphrates is this place. River Euphrates. And the great river of Egypt. This is one. So, God had promised Abraham that his descendants will occupy all this land. This is the boundary that God had promised. And here another story came up again, Hagar and Ishmael. Abraham had lived in Canaan for 10 years. Even after living in Canaan for 10 years, Abraham did not have a son. Okay? Though God had already promised him a son, but even after 10 years, they do not have a child. Sarai had produced no hair for him. She gave Abraham her servant. It is not asked by Abraham, but Sarai had offered her servant Hagar to Abraham so that they could have a child. But at the time, when Hagar conceived, Hagar naumpay takina, Hagar treated Sarai with contempt. Hagar na apinu simmok tamo. Then at the time, Sarai exerted her power over Hagar. Hochina, Sarai na, atuni na, soy na, Hagar pen, asol kyamoki. Mo, Hagar pen no kyamoki, asikanu pen mo. Aman Abraham kya na naupay sakdia, asol hinapina. Kadno na naupay na kina, api simmo kina, huitoy na kina bang sila. Atay mang nahiyay tuwa ma, heka, Islam sa po kipat na ang hindi nga. An angel appeared to Hagar as she rested by a fountain. Kuchina tui sampu ichidi nga fountain katina Hagar pen genthei taka aum laina. An angel appeared to Hagar. And what did the angels told Hagar? Hagar told him that she was running away from his mistress, her mistress Sarai. The angel told Hagar to return and submit to Sarai. Heka, her fountain kichi, angel atwa namun pen ka. Islam sapwa zuite na, ngay pen ka jem mga chiwa. Kuay mun takha mun poy mo da na anga ito at udi kan na kay Hagar kena angel avakila namun te ka hay hoya ka van angel na Hagar kena kinolin nang tapanan ni dinga amin dingina Ismael na sakbi nga hi sabagyan da kena Hagar returned back to Abraham. Hagar returned and bore a son Ismael when Abraham was 86 years old. Abraham kung song dia lagu kahina Hagar tungto nila tapa Ismael kitsi anay he. Nila Ismael itsi ka aswak nu tapa he. Si kay hidden. This is the family trees of Terah. Terah had 3 sons and 1 daughter, Sarai. Abraham and Sarai got married. Abraham and Sarai kitin mo kayo mo. Ama ka sister ito. Gyaldam kataka apaw tibang anu kibang lo kitya. Ay hoy tungto na hey Abraham ina tapani palo uzaka Abraham ina Hagar. Kasi kano to kitin mo chidinga ay Ismael hongne chika kidingay. Haran ina Lot le Milka niya kay Milka kichika nahor tong kiteng non dit mo asang gampa tanuto nahor tong kiteng di chile maka kinai chichika zile pasala kila twa hi uchika kiti. So covenantal circumcision bang chikun ina Jeksum kichiyong kipanyam Ismael kum sol le thuma phakina 13 years after Ismael birth God appeared to Abraham again. Patyan ka Abraham kyan kila hindi hello da ito. Ismael apian nung kung somot kung nila patyan ka kila mo nila. God changed Abraham name to Abraham. God repeated the threefold promises. Bangala promise. What are the 3 promises God gave to Abraham? A land, nations, and seed. God repeated that promise. God explained that Abraham's path in keeping the covenant would be. So in order to fulfill that covenant, circumcision would be the sign of God's covenant with Abraham. From Abraham's path, Abraham had to circumcise himself and all his families. His covenant would work. Every male was to be circumcised. All male were circumcised on the 8th day after their birth, whether born or bought from others. Any male not circumcised would be cut off. Those are the agreement made at the time. And at this time, God also changed the name of Sarai to Sarah. Okay, Sarah. Sarai became Sarah. His name changed. He promised Abraham a son by Sarah. His name would be Isaac. Abraham pleaded with God for Ismael. But God promised to bless Ismael, but his covenant would be through Isaac. At this point of time also, Abraham think that through Ismael, God's promise would be fulfilled. But God told Abraham that it is not through Ismael that you will have a heir, but through your own sons. I'm going to bless your descendants through your own son. So through that covenant, Abraham and Ismael were circumcised along with every male in his house. At the time, Abraham was already 99 years old. Okay? Abraham was already 99 years old when Ishmael was 13 years. The Lord visited Abraham again. The man said Sarah would have a son. The man here, the man means two angels, okay? The angels appeared to Abraham again and told Sarah that you will have a son next year by this time. At the time, Sarah laughed to herself at this news. The Lord asked, why Sarah laughed? But she denied laughing. But the Lord contradicted her denial. He ka tapani dinge ti changa ka Sarah ka agu ka nuye jmo. Hoy mini ten ka angel tena mangsa kanui na hiam jaman kanui ke chilai mo. Heya the Lord visits Abraham chika Abraham hoy vanangel ten ka Abraham te omna va visitum che ele angel da na kelang lo mo. Khwalzin mi da na va kelang. Hoy ka Abraham ina hoy ta kana zin tun mo kai ve hoy angel te ka angel te chilam the ana zin tun in chen asi khate ke na bong la pen hong go bun la adlim ta ke hong bolun che khonga ana zin tun na lai ta ka kha hoy Abraham pen ne tak di aboy la ya kha Sarah ke na tapani ding na hi na chi le Sarai na ananui kha mo chit wei. So here, the two angels came to Sodom. Abraham pleads for Sodom. At that time, the two angels had told Abraham another thing. That is, the two angels told Abraham that I'm going to destroy the city of Sodom and Gomorrah. So since your son is there, Lot is there, the fifth is there, so you have to give warning to him. Okay. Abraham went with his quest to send them on their way. On their way, again, the Lord told Abraham he was about to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. At the time, Abraham knew that his nephew was there in Sodom, so he pleaded for Lot. Abraham approached the Lord. Abraham asked the Lord, if you destroy the cities, if 50 righteous were found, midik ta som namle Sodom Gomorrah na susadian di sa gina tau pa na misom nga midik ta namun ka susukedi nga siya ile Abraham na misom nga mulo di chi ta kina misom thum ile na susadian nga siya suselo din si misom thum le muzoro di chi ta kina misom ni chi som ni tan phale muzo kele Sodom Gomorrah kang tum di chi ta kina misom tan le tau pa sina ki soma ta kina again midik tat som lel na mu le Sodom le Gomorrah kahal kum ke di nga chi lain le Abraham in azonga muktuan ke ya kuchina Sodom le Gomorrah chu sukset di dare om ta a kuchina Lot pen hot kya ke idan kha ngai to ina hoi vanangel bi te ma kha Sodom le Gomorrah va payun chen Lot le in kon te kha va kai kheo chu. The two angels came to Sodom. Lot insisted strongly that they stay with him for the night. Hoy Lot ina angin hi dam le na thi ton long bo Lot in kha zan gya kun la jing che pai na un jing che na pai na diu china anazin tun khano na hi Lot ina hoi vaningel te ni kha. The men of the city, both old and young, from every quarter came to Lot's house. No. Kaya ka avido kun sak zoldia. Bagus story laki na dia ma bang situ ka gilo hiwa cika yan din ha sambok sa ifit na kaya escape from Sodom and Gomorrah pen yan jol dile kaya ka angel teni dana hiya hede ka kaya lok tanu teni to kutsa komite ka gilo ma ama mo Sodom Gomorrah mi te kha nazin te hong pe khiau ho te na ka ke pol pi the na re go na kalu pi the na de un chumo ko chu a kong khak te khong age tu mong va su se hiao mo china nazin te hong pe khiau ที่นั่นก็เขียนบอกตอนนี้แต่เราที่ไหนให้เจ้าปัจจัยมีเจ้าหิวบางสิเจ้าลากิโลนะหิวอามาเอาตุ้งกับบังมาโลขันโลกันเองพุทธเจ้าโลกิพโมนะหิวเลยตันูนี่มั่ววิริจินตันูนี่กันไอ้ลายาคอยเจ้าคนไปแค่สดีกัจินเตตุ้งกับบางมาหิคิวนี่สมมติแต่ป่านะยัยป่าจางลำเจ้าก้าผมเป็นทักไปนะอีตุ้งกับไว้ผมดุนยามจีน่ะตัวบ้านนี่นะผมเฮ้อันไว้จะกินบางทีอะไรไว้ฟ้าอะไรเลยนะไว้มีแต่มีตัวสับเนาะอามีตัวถุงสักเฮ้จะนักหัวมุดเทนอนลงเนาะเฮ้ยไว้จะกินนะอันนี้เลยนะลดเลยตันูเตนี่เกี่ยงนะครับที่สาวน่าจิงกันเลยนักโน่นอาจารย์นะที่ตายมังดีวะฮีสิตายใช่ไหมไอ้ไว้ตะกี้นะลดที่นะกระสังดำดังเตะคงกระตันเอาเตะกับเฮลิพอดดิ้งจีนะไอ้ห่างกว่ามาบัดเจียงโจเกียเพราะจีนมีปีที่บางอาบวยเว้งบุ้งลายนะเนาะอันนี้เตะนะอาไก่นะไก่เขียบถอยเฮ้จะเกิดอีกนะมันจะบวยลายนะพอเที่ยววะเฮ้สกุลลูกบอลนะอัตตายสนวนอะไรทุบยักษ์ขบังอะไรลบเลยไอ้คนที่ทุบยักษ์บังอะไรนุ่งน้ำเม็ดที่ลงดิ่งใช่ไหมเขาปีอันนี้เลยลำแต่งว่าเขาสัมนาแต่งว่ากลางตุ้มกลางมังยิงของอาซากินะให้ลดจีนะจะให้เราดิ้นจีเป็นเนาะให้นุ่งน้ำนุ่งลำเงินคดีเดียวนุ่งน้ำเป็นแต่เป็นบางมาสวดอะไรลดจีนบางมาสวดอะไรa pillar of salt เนาะสิคนมันสวดนกได้ไหมสวงนะฮิโลชีองสวงนกได้ใช่ไหม pillar of salt นะครับประเทศทุกอย่างมันสุดยอดมากเลยไปนะครับลบตามถูกเลยฮะ Now let's go back to the lesson. And they called to Lot and said to him, "Where are the men who came to you tonight?" No. Lot waited for his guests. He offered his two daughters, but the mob began to break the door down and struck the mob with blindness. Then they told Lot to get his family out of the city because he would be destroyed. Lot ran to tell his sons-in-law, "No, sons-in-law, tell them to come and saklo mo." At morning, the angel brought Lot, his wife, and their two daughters out of the city. Azan will get ham ito mo. Azan ha Lotina in kwan ke bachel ay ham ko machel ke so to. They fled to Zoar. The angel told Lot and his family not to stop in the plain and not to look back. With Lot safe in Zoar, God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. All the cities of the plain were destroyed. Lot's wife looked back and she became a pillar of salt. Hey Zoar, pichi kaya mo na ito. Lot escape mo kaya mo Zoar, Sodom and Gomorrah. Pichi kaya kim lakahi. Bago archaeology na Sodom and Gomorrah location ka isang kyak som diwa. Tuna Sodom and Gomorrah dito makimonolo. Bang jakyan ito check ina kaya kim lakamay changa Dead Sea ina cover ka mo. Dead Sea mo umta pichi eh. Ki khangde diwa check ina. Lot and his daughter. Hey, incident ka no na. Lot was afraid to live in Zoar. Lot kami bihwal kait janga laway sumo Zoar teto. So nung Gomorrah tele ka kikom to khazo ay janga ka lawin sin. So he and his daughter moved to a cave in the mountain. Quite till Gilo till Tungoma, the daughters were concerned about Lot's immediateness. Lot tule tate bang omnolo di mo no azile sita asan sin lo te ting ting la omnolo kam tum vek tai chang wa ka lotina son le pak ni no lo chi theta kuna lot tanu te ni kha sodom le gomora ke pandana na chumo alung sumole dik lo chui khading since they had no amala husband la nei lo chema kamo they devised a plan. They got their father drunk. They chintan went into Lot. Mo huchila apau zu pekhanun chim azan khat na kha tanu khatina apau lo ti mo both daughters conceived huchin ani ula na hom paiwa. They just gave birth to Moab. Lot tanu pupa pe na Moab ki chung swanga aba na Lot tanu khat pe na Ben Ami apawa ki pan na ta hong nei to ko he they Moab le Ben Ami te kha Moabites le Ammonites le ngi mo ba na khonunga kha atum ina hei te pen kha Lot tung to de na Israel suan te ra de na bangtan Israel te lama bangtanung pangma leo apian dan hong dik loi changa khamo to pa kha Israel mi te dia Myanmar hong hi ve diu pathian Myanmar mi nam te suang tu te mi ve Moab mi te Ammon mi te mo. Now let's go back to Abterah family tree. See this one. Nahor le Milka ang kite no mo. Nahor le Milka kite na ke panina. He pen kan den cha ke lang dia. Lot tung to dina lot na atanu te ni apa dina tapani ni Moab le Ben Ami chi khai ide la pa. Kaya isak pen chu piang nai lo la nei ve he ma kum khat sunga thiu tum hi ngai tua sodom lo gomora tang tu ka Ismail um lai mo isak piang nai lo ai le thil om non khat om non je la thiu tum khat Abraham kha akwal jin na Abimelech kum pi pa kiang atum takena then Adam dan na kha Abraham led the ox of Amram and traveled to Negev. They had dwelt in Gerar. Abraham said Sarah was his sister. Wow. Abimelech kumpi pala lao taget. Jamo Abraham in ka. Kusi na Sarah pen. Me hoy lo tele itsenga. Ka kazi chingam lo mo. Ka sister at si nonzel ka Abimelech ina Sarah pen ka laksak jer. Abraham traveled to Gerar. No. I hang God appeared to Abimelech in that night. No, he told him that he had another man's wife, Mikadzi. Kalahi chika again in sin. Hoitaka Abimelech is sigma ma in sin. Came on a hilawahi, Abraham in Kemahi. China, Gemina, which God told Abimelech he had kept him from touching Sarah. Which in the pattern of Abimelech, why Sarah and nothing happened in a he. Kaya, kucina Abimelech na Abraham avak timupia bangja ka hong kem nehiyam kili hial de kahi atia kucina Abraham na pathian kianga ang ngai damang eksaka ay hangina bangchile God had chose close the wombs of Abimelech's house because of Sarah. He pathian na Abimelech te God ve mo Anagu abing sak chom nan chu ta nei hiu din a pathena bol chu lok da nei chu Abimelech in contact kamo I let bar of Isaac it dina Isaac hong piang ta thus as God's promise Abraham and Sarah had a son kum zakha ai na tapa hong nei ta ho they named Isaac and Abraham circumcised on the 8th day and get men ze kasuma kailain Abraham pe kum zakha kita ai I look you not On the day Isaac was weaned, Sarah saw Ishmael scoffing. Weaned kichiyam dan so Isaac ina noi nek atop hun lai na. Ishmael hong pai Ishmael ina huay Isaac pen simmo taka ka hong pau khai dei chumo scoffing. Hoy takina Sarah in huay mu takina atapa masapen sini Hagar tungto na atapa masapen nung Ismael na Isaac pen simmohi chiti takina Sarah he mama ina she didn't want him to be and here with Isaac
Isaac to go lo khom di na adi lo zekina siak Abraham to send Hagar and Ismail away. No. Hagar and Ismail pe ina pan hol ke ding na apasal puta. Kaya ina Abraham pen alung khamma ma azeko sara Hagar le azihi veve. Ismail le kumsom le thumsom le liram. Om khom bi nung pai hol ke di chi Abraham hut ya. Ay hangina God told to do as Sarah wishes and Abraham obeyed. Nila pa kaya na Abraham kaya na nazitu mangin nazigen pe na tikma ay. Yay natapay na Ismail na natapago wa kong lo din hi chi pa kaya na again kaya na putin Abraham na Hagar le Ismail ahol ketahi. Galatians chapter 4 verse 29 to 30 ka go lo kong lo din ay dan mo. Cast out the bondwoman and her son. For the son of the bondwoman shall not be here with the son of the free woman. Sika. Go luwa kong kilo di na hiu. Sika. Eh. Putin Ismail pen. Holke kinom ta. Headed south into the wilderness of Beersheba. Hagar le Ismail kasol kya ka ummo. Putin na angela bakilak no na. And until appeared to Hagar and promised her Ismail would become a great nation. Pathalin pen Hagar le Ismail le happy veve chmo puchina angel bakilakina no te pen nam thupi tak swap din hiu chi ava promisa Ismail took a wife from Egypt and became an archer in the wilderness of Paran. Gen kholama bagana Ismail ke chi ha nam thupi tak swap din hai pagatwa pangal de chi mo dik ka muslim sa ko zi ke akipat napau Ismail ang swab din ahi. Pwede kamao te na kaya promise te siya may na leitong pumpilwa din de yehu mo pangal te pole na Ismail kaya gama Egypt gama zi lain na kaya mo na ang te mo eh. Covenant with Abimelech king of Gerar came to Abraham. Pwede na Abraham pe na pita ka buwazol hiti theta kena Abraham ina Abimelech to kilim na agreement ng bolwa they sure covenant with Beersheba puchina waiting ko na Abraham pe with Beersheba kiling thay din man kanyan siya file here Abraham ateng mga boy nunga ta pahong na inakipak ma ama online na patay na bangtua gen no na le God told Abraham to go to the land of Moriah and offer Isaac as a burnt offering. Sige bok non tamo. Alo huchina bangachi ai chi non lekha. Pathadina again ken. Pongzi non mok dai mo Abraham in kha. Atek nung avoy nung ta. Pathadin hai tung to na le tung pumpilwa ding di chi lai na. Pathadina Abraham kenga. Natapa ne isun ben. How nang tila tanong piak di si mo. Sebut lai kapat hari na samin chin. Yai sarai dikha. Athei dia mathei lo dia mathei kia. Bapot ke di cie cuma. Abraham ina. Isak to. Gam na pia bapai di ke pathen ke kilak ke thoi dia pai di hiu. Cie gen ta ka kamo. Anun khatom sika pot le phal lo di da na he. Amo vista na kamo. Huchina ni thum lampai na ke chetelai chulai. Ni thum lampai na kha ba payum chin wa kha sakina nidang ina ipai chang ina gan bang ikaya sing bang ipua tu na bang chidan hiam gan bang ipua chia Abraham ina hum takin pathan ngai pu sak na dinga chia ko chen vai Abraham ina mai tam di bolina Ito na thinay lo ding bang no. Isa ka na bang ma thinay lo ding no. Ito thay sim ta ding ai. hal di pen mai nom ta a hai ta ka pathian nong ti pathian nong sama here am I na pong tong ba ma lo ken la come on. Okay, so na siya ka bang siya ka pathian na Israel pa te hichilom lo ba di sakya mi tichen na mo Apu Abraham akipya kya na thupi wan siya kai Abraham obeyed God, built an altar and bound Isaac. The angel of the Lord stopped him. Oh, so mo Hijitela Abraham ina pathian amuan siya kina pathian na Abraham kina promise a land and nations a seed. Kuchina Abraham siya kina Abraham ke pia khet na thupi siya pathian na Israel ta te pen nam tel tuam special chosen nation ang tel na siya. Genesis 22 ya kong sim kom diu le by myself
I am sworn, says the Lord, because you have done these things, and have not withheld your son, your only son, blessing I will bless you, and multiplying I will multiply your descendants as the stars of the heaven and as the sand which is on the seashore. And your descendants shall possess the gate of their enemies. In your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice.
Abraham pathian thuman jekena Egypt to ka pathian thuman jekena nam tukin kon boldinga mo chika sa tupia kai zia ka hi si kai ki ngai by faith Abraham when he was tested mo chika ye kai news from the horse family to not to lang about fighting Abraham received news concerning his brother's family. Milcah, Abraham's niece, had born children to Nahor. 8 sons of Milcah and 4 sons of his concubine. Naka Milcah bel Abraham sanggam 10. Abraham sanggam pa le pa ni pa hi hi ka. Ye Abraham sanggam pa tanu kha Rebekah ismo. Abraham sanggam pa tanu kha nen chen wa ka Rebekah ti chi kha kwa zim hi dile. Isaac zim hi to di hi chi kha the na dinga na story again so le. Sarah died at 127 in Hebron. Abraham only for her brought the kid Macpela mun kha alehia wa kha azi Sarah bi ai le Abraham ina Isaac zidin ko ya wazon sakale Abraham sent his steward back to his country a country ko koi takale Abraham di panna Mesopotamia ito mo Mesopotamia gama Isaac zidin wazon sakay chu apute kholama the steward traveled to Mesopotamia and stopped at a well outside the city of Nahor and hoite kina asikapara paten kana thumin chen pao Kaya amun katun siya gina kapu pa ziding no kapu ta pa aziding gina kiham doon ma sa pen tuyong pa ma sa pen ha aziding gina aziding gina kathik na ding gina huchi ba hong kung sakin siya ha patyan tanga thum na ne ilai ta ka ha let it be that the young woman to whom I say please let down your pitcher na bell that I may drink. And she says, drink, and I'll also give your camels a drink. No. What yan kena tum like that? Atum na ba bang ka? Instantaneously, why hun ma ka min nunga ka dong pai ge insin mo? Nunga ka dong pai ge insin. Aman ka. Kaya donin la. Che tuyong pe pa mo kay Kaya ka. Aman khatei pa mo alam jang dan khamo before he even finished speaking a woman named Rebekah appeared. The steward asked her for a drink. She told him to drink and offered to draw water for his camels too. Nang adila hilawina nasangong sauti ading le pilain to offer mo kaya Isaac gì đi chỉ pen thấy chân mà pa he hay là napa te qua here chỉ là đốt chắc cái na Patriots là hi chia Patriots là hi chia Prakha the son of Nahor ma Abraham sangam pa tanu kuchina pathian abia ke pa ma ke pa thu gen he kuchina Rebecca's family taking wa paina Isaac ava pita her family released Rebecca to go with the steward kilometer asang asim mo Rebecca journey with the steward kuchina zuime ichu Isaac took Rebecca to his wife. He loved her. He was comforted after his mother's death. Kuchana Isaac pen anusi nung ina zimi takina no hamlung buang tahi. Abraham ina zidang hamne ya vai khat Ketura hiya. Abraham took another wife Ketura. Ketura ke pa ina tagu tapagu khongne hi chi le imwa. Hoi te la kina cham te tham chun Midian chi chi ka cham te tham ham dei. Abraham lem se ka Abraham kumbang zai na siya le at the age of 175. Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah where Sarah was buried. Sarah ki buina ma ka Abraham le ki buya he thayula. After his death, God blessed Isaac. Kuchana Bella Haroi aka Isaac kong tene. Generation of Ishmael le ka pa kaya na abwazol bagina hong puma mawa. Ishmael tapabang zani alek. Ishmael also had 12 sons. Remember that. Jacob also had 12 sons. They live in Negev in the edge of the desert where the sons of Keturah also live. Keturah, ichika Abraham. Zi Keturah here. Why Keturah tate to Ishmael te umkhomu. Ishmael died at the age of 137. Teka Terah's family. Kumita Bethuel ina tafa le tanu ania Laban le Rebecca ania Rebecca became the wife of Isaac. Chikai thei Paban Abraham le Ketura ina ataw tela ka kha Midian kichi kha mabana ong poi mo di ngai su na mo ko je revision e pawina Abraham kha kumsom sagi le mai na kanan ga mong pa hi kumsom sagi le ngai na pathian sap na na Abraham keng thochiam thum te kha gam nam le chi swam habana Abraham tu mi hoi bukim ki ahin ana hi kwal lo hi dan lo mi ma ma ahi dan kha ahin na hum but na lamina ni ve tak zo gen na mo aziatan kholo hial na azi ni ve tak tan kholo hial de ei chi khai khai ei azo gen je kina Pavana aman kha mi ngahi na zeka pathian thuchiam abang hat nunga lekha tapa nei zoklo ichanga kha bedam go fi mo chena aswak nu to tapa nei manwa hoi kha Ismail hiya ile Ismail pian nunga pathian na ta nei di chi chang ta ka gen pen bel kum son ko le kwa hi nunga ko bel Abraham na gin tak tak ta mo Abraham gin na kha tapa nei din ke chi gin ta he kum som ko le kwa hiya ko ngel ni ai no va pai lai wa bel Abraham gin tak tak tai pai pe nei Abraham gin na thopi dan ka kum som ko le kwa hiya kha Sarah ko te guma boy nunguna pathian tapa pe ding hi dan chi pe ana gin ta chi akimwa 15:6 saka ama thuni na hina pina asang gampa tapa lok tu ade na mun mun atel sak no akina inyam na kha kum som ko le koi laina tapa nei ding chi gen kha kin oma kum som ko le kwa hi na aman jek su mai chu Ismail kum som le thum phatai chana koi le jek su Sodom le Gomorrah suksia ta om ding pen aman kha lot asang gampa tapa lot nget sakin chin hu chia kha nget sak na ziak ma in kha lot le in kwan te hot khia ka ma hiu ata patang nei sun le it lowina Abraham ina pathian apia ku ziakina pathian Abraham pen nam te pa father the nation ina pathian ong tel ta he ngai pathian Abraham gin na thei chet takina thuchiam sukip thakina atapai saktung to na thuchiam golwa din lampi hon bol sakta a thuchina ji ding mi so patibe gama ke pan bazon saka Rebecca tong kitengina Jacob ina Rebecca to ta bang jang ni wale tuna kim dewina ya Isaac le Jacob tan chin kha game zum ding ha okay Isaac le Jacob tan thu kha birth of Jacob and Esau male nong dong pa tiwa Isaac ina tapani ani ya Jacob le Esau atan chin na kayo mo Isaac na Rebecca when was 40 kum sobli ina Isaac ina Rebecca to kitengwa tani pa lo chuma hangina konumina Jacob le Esau niwa Isaac lived with the Lord because he was unable to conceive the children struggled within her mo Rebecca gil sunga na wapai lai na atate ni le kibuan pa out gil sunga Rebecca was concerned about the pregnancy asumate niya na kibuan mo anak kiswal mo ka Jacob le Esau ka anong gil sungam lai le ka Kaya bang Zekiam chile Genesis 25 aka patin hitse bang again ito two nations are in your room namni two people shall be separated from your body meaning one people shall be stronger than the other and the other shall serve the younger again kolom mo kay anu gil sunga kibuan mo kay chama ido di dano katina katpana sem din mo Fortuna ta only tawa Rebecca gave birth to twin boys. The first came out red and hairy, katpen asan le mulha mama mo ka Esau. Ani na pen ka au ketu len ko mang pot. His brother Hill. Hong pot ko mo chi ha katpen asok masa pen upa zoy ni mo le. Isaac was 60 years old when the sons were born. Isaac kum son buki pa ito. Chronology pen ore na yun may dinga Jacob le Esau became a hunter no Jacob was a mileman ito pa konset lo video ito Jacob no mileman dwelling in tents Isaac loved Esau and Rebecca loved Jacob bang Jacob idile isa kina apa naka Esau idzo mo Rebecca ina Jacob idzo de isak tuam totok neu Isak ha asadu man himay mo. Isaw hantarin siya. Sabi higit siya mo. Rebecca la Jacob de isak sunok mo. Partiality is one between this one. Pagka ka nula pa natatedik sa rin siya ganing sumaboy na kaya may dinaidan ang kilang dina. Esau's birthright. Jacob buys the birthright. Bang sila na upahin naman. Alay kemokil siya gina. Esau ka gabba ka gimma ama hong pai lai na Jacobin ka me limtak no me huan sami sim lai cho beme besan me tidinga ana huan a why Esau gil kyalwa na me huan hong nek sakina changa Esau Jacobin thallo se yo mo thallo anget te takina nau pa hi na nong piak dile kon nek sak dinga chi why Esau pen ka miu ham tak di mo kil ngai tua sau pi second thought le nei loi mai thei a gil kia la kom sang ina upa hi na banga patuam china lek sak ngo kai chu hoi ka upa hi na khong hin mo a khon ma gu thok de na man thei loi chu and Jacob gave Esau bread and stew of lentils when he ate and drank arose thus Esau despised his birthright Esau in upa hi na sin mo ki chu hoi jaka maban Esau happy wai ma de hanga ama kili khek na zia ka hi chi li thei doi Isaac's conflict because of her mind Isaac moved to Gerar. God spoke to Isaac and warned him not to go to Egypt. God repeated the promise previously made to Abraham kaya nga to champion ha pathe na Isaac kaya nga legend no na iso promise tum te kamo Isaac kaya nga legend no dwell in this land and I'll be with you and bless you no I'll make you descendants multiply the stars of heaven I'll give you descendants all this land. Hegam teng kompedi nga. And in your seed, all the nation of the earth shall be blessed. No, na iso Isaac yang ale. Natiswana, leitung nam teng na vagding. Blessed ang hiding sika. Kaya promise again no. Mo land, seed, descendants. Mo. Kaya kom nom. Ahi chika hiding ay. Abraham yang again, Isaac yang again. Non ta จะในเกล้าหลังไปว่าไอ้เรื่องเลยค่ะอาป้าบังบังอาค่ะอิสักินค่ะชัวหงเกมโน่นเจเลยเว้ยเรเบคก้าข้ามีหดลดเลยเจ้าน่ะค่ะกับซิสเตอร์ฮีติดเจลตาAbimelech saw Isaac and Rebekah together and realized this was not true. Hebel Abimelech in Theta mo ông phỏng đa nội trang à khá mo lu pai chỉ không thể là kia na hay Abimelech kia na hay tên lu pa phải khai mình khá thả đến chỉ thuộc tiệt rồi mo vậy thế Abimelech chỉ cái người Abraham na Abimelech kia lâu mấy thế Abimelech chỉ khá kumpi nam no kumpi nam thì khá thế Abimelech chỉ khá tai cái of the king này king of Gerar Isaac farmed the land of Isaac in a Gerar gamong farm bola Patriots na kina bolzo lahi Puchina Philistine tena hong hazao mo ama hong hao sama ama mo kay cheng na Puchina Abimelech na Isaac pen pot di na sola gama kipanina Puchina ang pot kenon dingay Isaac in verse ba And the Lord appeared to him I am the God of your father Abraham do not fear for I am with you Puchina meng mate lawa meng mate hol kyak na jagong pot he kina pathelin na khamwana your descendants multiply your descendants Abraham zia kina chita cha Abraham zia ka apu atate na hamphat na tangden dil Puchina isakina altar bola maita bola Poi ka apa Abraham to tuchiam bang bang poven kapatyan tong bo non we bear sabaka well of oath sinai When Esau was 40 years old he married two Hittite women Esau kum somli na hit me te no gì ni ông này á hoi pen kha Rebecca ding ina a source of grief anu le sau de sak lawai chu mo ade sak lo na kala amo ade lo pen hong nei zo ma mo isa bena hoi hit me te amao bela pu te tanu khong de sak kireu na asi amo diu wale ai ha gina le sau bena hit me te nu me ni ong nei takina amo tiêu tong ki to lo sem lai mo Rebecca ha Jacob deceive ha apa khem nang ita Isaac pen homo pa ma ata hoi ta kena Esau ina kata te hon bol zo ka hi achia au aman kabel Esau bol zo re chuma upa zo cha gina he told Esau to go hunt game and prepare him to eat no Pai la sa va mani la lim ta ke nungal sa ken la ho chi na ane gi na kon bo zo li che chu pai kha kwa na za le Rebecca na za chi che no Rebecca devise a plan ho che na man atapa Jacob ke na pai la ke lo ni go in la lim ta ken ho kwa nen la mo ho che na she dressed Jacob in a south cloth Esau kwan to Esau dan na kitwam sakina mo pai bela multe khong kha ya bun sakin chen apa ni cha khoi changa ha Esau dan na ko digena mo Jacob took the food to his father and pretended to be Esau Isaac was old and blind na ola Jacob over here na taksala Esau na kuan la Esau kuan na hiya mo sina ay hanga khem de ging talo changa khamo pa na ging tamok da nei ame wan le lim sasim hi de mo mai ja ka khem ho nei Rebecca devise a plan che ka yen thina please come near me that I may feel you mo kong khoi ding che pa kha apa khem zo hi to hi chi thei dinga ho ja ka the blessing that Isaac gave Jacob was not the birthright the blessing was only the most often when the son who inherited father's property atapa upapen bolzo na dana kha atapa upapen bolzo na teng pen kha Jacobin tang khatai cho he kha halwai ta kena isakena thei ta kena a he ma pa o bolzo na adang nei no na hi hiam at chang bol adang nei no lo mo pan khat ve bolzo sa pen midang bolzo the no lo was that can I saw Jacob and planned to kill him as soon as Isaac died. Ma, apa dam lai pen bel asang dam pa tunga khut khanam la wei ve khoi ve chumo Rebecca wanted Jacob flee to Haran puchina Jacob te na tai khat ni thu atai khat ni dan azam khat ni dan kha hongai to ta hoi kha asangam pa kyang azam dia asangam pa kyang tai hedinga kamo Rebecca in a plan on a ball in chin she convinced Isaac to send Jacob back to Mesopotamia to find a wife ma hoi kha man kha Jacob kha convince ai ve pute kholama apute tanu zong ding na ji zong ding na so mi chi le kha second le kha tom he re chuma cha ka sol khel chu Esau-ina jidang hong nei no na mahalap Isaac did not want Jacob to take a wife from Canaan. Esau in bel Isaac in bel dei lawai chu Canaan mi te khong zian ai hangina Esau-ina anu le pa dei lo bangina jidang Canaan mi te ma hong nei no mo in rebellion Esau-ina married Mahalak the daughter of Israel which is not ji thum tak nei ta mo Jacob ko yong payale Mesopotamia yong pain chen paya anu sanggam pa laban tanu mo amin bangale Rachel mole ni kha to again te hiya hala Jacob thu kha hi chin again dinga hala hiya Jacob ina mang khat hong nei a hoya mang nei namuna kha bangamu ale van tan sukha leather ka leong ti dok hian chin pai kha van angel te kum suk ka to hong muai pai mun kha ung poi mo dinga hoi lai kha Jacob kyanga mo Isaac na ke mo Abraham kyang kelak aban Isaac kyang kelak kya Jacob kyang kelak ta pakhian hong kelak ken chin a promise te hong ki gen no Genesis 28 ka I'm the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac. Your descendants shall be a dust of the earth. No. Achia. In your seed, all the families of the earth will be blessed. Seed promise ka again no na. Aba na land promise, nation promise te ka ki gen no na hi. Jacob kena le ki gen no na ki gen na pian ka. Hoi zana ai mut laya. Suam lu khama zat laya van tung amu hun lat lai ta ka. Pakyan ke lak non chi nai, pakyan ke lak na mun chi nai. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob kaya na promise te ka uma. Puti na Jacob ka Mesopotamia ka painon no. At padan arama ka. Jacob met Laban's daughter Rachel at a well outside at Haran. Puti naman may hoy sa paay sumo. Hoy ka azidi nga day pa. Ay hoy apu Laban kaya nga anu sanggam pa Laban kaya nga bangyet takina bangale. Katanu na day ile kumbang zaat nalo di chalay. Kumsagi lo ngay cuma anu ngak dei pak lo le kumsagi kaman hum tom chik dan ngai to ki che the 7 years seemed very short to Jacob because of his love for Rachel kumsagi sim le ka tom chik dan ngai to me no al hoy ta kenap bang chale after 7 years bang chi Laban deceived Jacob and gave him Leah instead of Rachel. Ya khang lui ma electric kichiliam lo hidimo hoi lai kha hoi jaka zana kha azidiu zana ke pese hidiu no Rachel pek da na kha apuin kha Leah demok ai cholok na kha mo aman thailo de lai chu hai jing kala tho ta ka kha le kha Rachel na hilo awunu Leah na himo mo hoi takina bangjak on khem ne hiao chekina pute ki tom kan ngai lo hi ti chama ai lo hoi ta condition khat bong non he Rachel le na de le Rachel ko gamda ne na kwa mana au te tai sang ngai lo hi chi da na mo hoi kha khem num da ma hi dinga ai lo hoi ta ka condition khat bong lun chin he Rachel le na nga de le kum sagi ma na ki lo non de che ai ha nga kha hoi pen da kum sagi nak sak non lo hoi ni ma kha Rachel le pia mo ji dia ai han kum sagi sung kha advance sa mo alo la massage sa lo la massage ja kha another 10 years and another 7 years kha mo another 7 years kha Rachel nga ni din kum bangza ale alo pia kha 14 years takai chu azi tak no no kya ni kum som le li tak apu gam chinga kilo te lai mole hal kum som le hi ta when the Lord saw that Leah was unloved mo azi tho tho le kha aman kha rachel hi zomo I changa pathelin khar Leah he pin chen Leah sul hong sakin chinu cha kha Leah ta nei sak mo kai chu mo ta nei sak pai chu pathelin kha Leah he pin chen hoi ta kha Leah apan kha Jacobina papa mo dai za ne chu Reuben Simon Levi Judah Issachar Zebulun he zilpa ke chi kha Leah kaya hai kong som li kita khamo labanin kha nidang lai te paidan khen kha atanu teu mi ji dia pek changwa kha atanu te mei ding atanu te servant din nu mei khat to pe khom nga lo chamo hoi amei te pe no kha ama aji da na le ani thing chida nai ko chena le a mei nu pen kha jilpa hiya hoi la kha Jacob ji yong sok mo gat le asar jilpa ke panina rachalina ta nei lo chi chen mo kai me mo le Jacob ai adi thok mai pen kha rachel ina amei te khat kha ama ta nga ta nei sak ding ina pia bilha pa na dan le na kali kha mo ne ya rachalina nei lo mo kai ve bol zo na apa sali na ma dong le kha pa thenen ta pe lo mo Then God remembered Rachel and God listened to her and opened her womb. Atop to pa kha au pa nunga kha pa thena asulong sakin chena thum naga te je kina pa thena Rachel ta apia kwala tamasa kha Rachel tamasa kha Joseph mo chen Joseph mom ta Leah also bore a daughter Dina kichi kha Leah ina tanu kha sun sunane ya kha Dina mo Dina ichen Dina ichi ya uchena pasal tengki goma bangzai ale ya mo Jacob ta so minute bangzai ale ya mo Jacob waises kum som le living ren kha azi ke ni alok ya hai ba na agam te lok khang ni ding ina kum bangza sem lai le kum buk sem lai di ngai kum buk sung sem lai mo kum som ni ving ren kha apu te gama gom na kum guk sung ina pathena bol zo lim chen apu laban sang agan hau sak zo mo ha Jacobin le kha plan bolin chen agya teng teng ke ari cha ka thukim bo bol pi mo agan te gyal thei khina ding na man pan line chen cha gyal tam pi mo cha ka man le pu ke mai ta agan te gyal khina ding na sing hong kong bang hong tui dia in chen kha hi cha na kha agan te ong gyal mo maka apua sang ama akya amo teng kha ma akya swak sim ma cha kama la puna ka kang khem khai Jacob became exceedingly prosperous, large flock, female and male servant, camel and donkeys to china ama hong house lo tai changa kha apuin phal non lo mo kin da pai khat de kha pai phal non lo choi cha aguka hong tai kha tai chu Then the Lord said to Jacob, return to the land of your fathers and your family, and I will be with you. No. Jacob flees Laban. Jacob bin kha apu Laban ang tai san tai chu. A whole family te to apu Laban thelo kala kha hong tai khiam chin. When Laban returned, he went out in pursuit of Jacob hong that mo. Gam la piang tung manui chu ni thum lam pai na khong that kha ong that pai chu. Hoi ta ka kha Laban to kha thuchiam Jacobin ong bolun chin suang chiangun chin yai gel nong kan mon lo ding chi mo khoi thu chiam bolun chin ko chen la ban na akanu te no kha kheta he pan kha Jacob served Laban 20 years khai ke ya ko chen Jacob kum som nung ina ain lam mo Esau o pam na lam khong zon mon tai ve as Jacob left Gilead, the angels of the Lord met him hoi lam pia kha angelina Jacob hong ke tok pia God's company of angel came with Jacob company of people vanangel te na Jacob hong tom pi mok ta ne ve Jacob prepared to meet Esau au pa sangam pa mai to de kha lawa ama ai ve Jacob in khamo hoi ba na Esau ina sangam pang pa hi chi thi takala anau pa don dinga kha mi zali to ama don ding apai ba no mi zali to anau pa don ding aja kha anau pa kha thong hau sama ama agam te tamma ama bai ba ain kwan te tamma ama kai changa hoi te kha don ding ba pai bel hiu chu hai hanga zakopina au pa tunga au pa khen kha te gi gen chen no au pa lau lo tel Zakop fear Esau would destroy him. He divided the people into two companies. No, it's in a group to mabang keninchen, a group near keninchen. Bangatiale, Patan can tumu would make some more. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother. Sinanapi, taking Patan can tum nanchin. Putina, Aupakana, Naidam Yet Nakoma, Hilpiak the Kabangale. Zakop prepare a gift and send them ahead more. Amount to mark, no, amount to mark, they prepare price, they pay the case of 200, 200 female goats and 20 male goats, about 20 ewes and 20 rams, so I'm done to Belam, it is Moyaka, Belam Anu Zani. Habana camel som to let, no, Habana 40 cows, Habana 30 female donkeys and 10 Mga Yaka, Pilankia. Hãy dạo piếc xồm cái này chú pa, gần hãy dạo cái piếc đi chị tiểu mà, hào sao mà chị này chứ, mi present lên để hãy dạo này làm ăn bằng dạo này tiểu làm mà, tôi đi mà ấy, Mungkin Jacob took his family and his possession and sent them over to Jabbok River. Ama khoai ama he remained alone. Khoai zan alone kham takam laina. Pathian angel khat tong ti buan mok ai ma ai la vai taken kha zakopina akibuan pi pa kha u lo mo bol zo la nom pya ke long kha lo di ke cha zan kho ba ka angel kha kha lo ang mok ai chu vai takena angel ina zo lo mok ai changa kha ma angel ina banga cha lai pa wa kha amal gu kha loi sak chini ma loi sak chen cha kha angel pen pot ke thei chu the man told Jacob that his name would be Israel vai ta ka kha hoyam dan tak chu Jacob in kha pathian angel pen ni cha len den mo kai chu vol lo long pet ka kha lo hi mim de che me mo si na pang nei chu hoi ta ka kha pathian tunga hu che te la kin na mo kai changa atop khong khong a kha Why Pathian and then the Volzol, me more Pathian Volzol made to support them. Who took the La Pathian, you born more than a Pathian on Volzol in my hitch in Itoma. Pathian cannot top me. Nang tell was I came out loading the hitch to Kaka Pathian and one major. Volzol non Pia Kale, keep in Bangalo, the hitch to Pathian, and I'm not Zaga, Pathian, why the engine, or attitude the engine. Pathian, Jacob and Volzol, I'm on the heart, Penny like it's ya.ได้พาปัจจัยนะอาปัวพระหัมเตียงอัฐเจียมเป็นนวัตกรรมเกมโน่นเองไอ้เลยเอสาวมูนันเนี่ยค่ะกรุ๊ปทุมามอบกรุ๊ปอะแค่ไหนจะ first group อะค่ะอาจีไอ้ยิดหลอกเด็กเป็นธรรมศาสตร์มอบดิลาลจิลปาเป็นเด็กจิกแกรดิลาลจิลปาค่ะอาสวกเตจมาเลยอเมริกาอาจีเบลฮิเบเรไอ้อเมริกาค่ะfirst group อะค่ะAsik dia semua siapa yang dia. Abang asik kan akak Lea, no Lea. Asik pilih akak teh koi. Abang nak thad akak, no Rachel le Joseph. Akak nak koi seja. Macam abang banas, no. Kamu gamlas mesti macam hal dia usah. Jacob went before and then bought 7 times to Esau. Sagi dia kubok saja, no umpama akak. Esau la kucibang lung siwana punon mong lo mo mia sangdam pa muuta Esau pain chen ucha embrace Jacob and wept Jacob introduced Esau to his family. Esau asked Jacob about all this kay teng bang de an nong thil pek teng poi mo lo hi kan le ni lo tham ka hi thil pek te lo zama mo Esau pe na hoi lo te le so Esau asked Jacob to travel home with him. Jacob declined because of his young children and cáiตัวต้นป่านี่มีสลีเต้เป็นโน้องปีดิ้งอ่ะนักการตาเต้ปีดิ้งอ่ะของต้นปีเต้จิตตะกาครับสกปรกส่วนว่าจริงๆก็โอ้ของไปนั่นเดียวนอนไปมาสนองไม่จริงใช่ไหมที่สาวริการที่เสียจะกอบจอร์นจะสกอตจริงๆนะทำมาหิวเชื่อละมาค่ะจะกอบเตียงเฮลังไปสาวเตียงมั้ง dan ai Jacob settle in second koi hidinga jaya Simon and Levi te tan chini gen man non ke dinga ke story tuam to dinga Jacob Bethela pem lu ta vai kha land nation seat te kha promise nom non he ko chena Rachel bang chikun na sila Benjamin apian huna sia hi mo anaw ni huna sia hi Jacob ta som ni na Benjamin apian hum dia kha Rachel Jacob favorite wife in kasi sa nahi chi ke dinga there of Isaac ko china Isaac leong sia Jacob stated that for a time pa ki panani thak bang le gat me asar mo bila ki panina dan en Naphtali Rachel ki panina Joseph Benjamin Leah ki panina Reuben Simeon Levi Judah Issachar Zebulun hete kha Israel nam som ni dem so ding mo hala last ben so homework din ki pidi was hera Joseph tang thu khamo he pen kha he kha kha de enjo zolun la Joseph tang thu khai thei vek saw hi a Joseph kha apan de sakai so mo le bang je ka de sakale Rachel ko paw hi ban mo ko chena mang nei pa chi no ma mo sanggam pen man hazai na ko chena Joseph pen kha slavery ai du pa a khazwak ya ki no ma Potiphar in sunga khang lian na hoi Potiphar in sunga khang lian ina hoi ki pan na zel hong lu ta mo Potiphar ji ya ki na Potiphar ji na hong swal so ma hi china zel hong lu ta ala zel lu ta ki na hoi mang hil chat thei na mo mini te mang hong hil chana al hoi ki pan na hong min thang chai na Pharaoh na mang lamdang ta hong ne ya ko ma hil chan theom lo lai na Joseph in hil chan thei ta ki na Pharaoh na Joseph pen kha second in command ai gupta alian pen ni nai nong ko ya huchi hun lai na kanan gama kya long tunga mo kya long tung ina hoi kya long tung takina bang thunga ma le asangam te pen buk ko ding ina ai gupta gamong pai lai na Joseph ina anaki thei mo bol ina ai hang ina asum te le pok tik sak zel ina atop ina Joseph ina asangam ten ki thei khe sakina mo hochena apa Jacob pi ding ina asola hochena Jacob le ai kwan te teng ai gupta gama mi som sagi te kha mo ai gupta gama hong pen lu ta he chika te Jacob tan china ke pani thei ding hidinga te khano tin kong pe zot na in lama den en diwa so se tan ko thi sai na kha Genesis bungsom na kha Jacob si na ti gen dinga mai kha Genesis bungtop na ngai hole tunia lesson kha bangbangai chi le Abraham akipanina Joseph ta nahi chi kha thei diwa scripture dinga kha atang thu detail ang sim dinik che buna detail na game akoi mo ke dinga ai hang na thei diu kha Genesis bungtup ti tung pa na Genesis bungsom matan isim chagena tua election teng kha a detail ang sim chagona story na thei chen diu ni du nai thum na ni le kapa vanong ka ma ke long lo tinga class o the kom kita jen ki pa ko he je class ka thu chelu Abraham Isaac Jacob Joseph chanchun te chomkim takin tom ki hilo jete ho hi he chen thea amau te thon thu he dinga lunglu taka Bible kong sim ha tu le he tu ni ka gen tel he dak ko ma lunglu taka sima ki chun pipu te chanchun hi hoi dak he chen thina dingun aneu pe na pat alian pen chan he khem nang pe din kong dono he gen khel gen ba kan lungai dam dingin le ma bana class zum zel thei dingin khana dam nang pe ding ti doin kalal pau je so benen kong dono he